Hey, welcome to The Conversation. You're with Andy Mason, and this is authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. We do this because we love to help train, activate, connect people to partner with God at work and engage in the well-being of the city they serve. But today, I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at something that I'm doing for fun that is taking me beyond my limitations. Limitations are often the things that we set for ourselves, and my life is a demonstration of partnering with God and going beyond what I think was possible. So I encourage you, listen, learn, be encouraged, and know that you can do this from the safety and comfort of your living area, or as you're listening, doing something, going about your day. I encourage you, what's a challenge that you can set for yourself that'll take you beyond what you think you are capable of? I'm literally 5 days from now, going to be running a 50K, like 31 miles ultra trail run. Now, you may think that's the stupidest thing ever, and I would agree with you. 6 months ago, I would have said I'd never be able to do this, but I've given my life to do that which challenges me to go beyond. Life is about learning to experience so much more, and going beyond your abilities makes you realize you have so much more in you than you thought you did. So what I'm going to do is walk you behind how did I get to go on this journey, what it's going to look like, and what have I learned along the way. Now, heads up, this is Monday, it's Saturday that this is the big event. I'm doing it with my son. I'm 49, he's 19. And so there's a significant difference there. You could just work that out. We've been training, but why did I get into this? What am I doing? What have I learned? And then in a subsequent podcast, post episode, I'm going to show you the afterwards and what I learned after the fact. So this is like a before and after. And there's just some really, really good lessons I've learned so far. If nothing else, I've already gone beyond what I thought was possible and learned so much in the process. So here's some key things. Number one is you are far more capable than you think. So change what you think. What are the limitations that you've set on yourself? I remember when we were in New Zealand, I said I'd never leave New Zealand. God said, go to a new country. It literally took us beyond, but the world has opened up. My life has so many more opportunities, possibilities, and things that I'm walking at, not just me, but my children, my wife, all that we're doing, and people, countless people that have been encouraged and inspired by our journey. Why? Because I followed the voice of God and went beyond my limitations. Here's the challenge is most of us don't even know what our limitations are, don't even know what we're capable of until we encounter someone who's doing something that you thought was impossible or beyond. So for me, a few months ago, back in February, we did our annual Heaven and Business Conference with Bethel Atlanta. Now, I know some of the people there, but hadn't got to spend much time with them. So first day, I connect with a guy by the name of Dan Weber, and we go for a run. And we're out doing a run, talking, and he's telling me stories about these ultra trail runs that they do. Then I meet Zach Ayton, and he's the same. And then I meet Lauren, Brent Brownlee, all of that leadership team. It's like they're this crazy people that do ultra runs, and what they've learned along the way, and the camaraderie and the encouragement and the lessons. Something sparked in me, and then they just poured fire on it. It's like, Andy, you could do this. Not only that, then I arrive home and there's waiting for me this cool watch. It's a Coros watch. It's like a trail running watch. I'm sure you can use for other things, but that's like what I get to use for. And they've got this, and they've just fed this. They show me pictures, tell me stories. I'm like, you know what? What if I did this? Then I tell my son and Ben, who came with me last year. We went hiking, we climbed a mountain, we went fishing, we did leadership development in Alaska. He's just like all over this kind of stuff. Now, heads up, I did do a marathon, but that was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, and I said I'd never do it again. Like, my wife acknowledged that when I crossed that finish line, I looked like how she felt when she gave birth. And she this somewhat sense of pleasure seeing what I was walking through. But here's the thing, I did that with 6 weeks of training. I set a challenge for myself, said I'd do it, learned a ton in the process, but it was not fun. What if I did this and planned and prepared? What's the point for you first? Is you have no idea what you're capable of until you come across some people doing something you said you'd never do. What could you do that'll take you beyond your comfort zone, outside of what you thought you were capable? Do something and discover so much more of the world that we live in. Second thing is, it always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela said that. I love that. It's like it's impossible, it's probable, and then it's done. That's what we've got to do, is break it down. I couldn't run 50K, but if you say, could you run 5K? Well, yeah, I could do that. Well, here's what you do. You just break down 50K into aid stations. That's where there's a bunch of people along the way that have got different things set up. It's prepared in advance. So just break it down in your mind. I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. And that's the journey that we started on. When I think of running 50K, I just feel overwhelmed. I'm thinking, how could I ever do this? I go out for a run and I might be running 5K, 6K, 10K and think, man, I'm exhausted doing this. How much could I do when it's like 3, 4, 5 times what I'm doing in training? But here's the key. Don't think about that long-term big thing. Just think about the next step that you've got to take. I've got to run these next 5K, then there's an aid station. Then I get to walk for a moment. I've got people around me. It's going to be beautiful. When I stop and talk to my girls, so my wife and I, we've got 3 girls and 1 son. When I talk to my girls, they're like, why would you do that? Like, that's the stupidest thing. Why would anybody want to do that? You know, they're not wired this way. But my son, me, it's like, heck yeah, I was born for this. Adventure, freedom, discovery, testing your limits, doing that with somebody else. This is going to be a blast. Somewhat crazy, I know. It's like the world belongs to those, not those who ask why, but those who ask why not. So lesson number 1 is you're capable of far more than you can imagine. So change the way you think. The way you can do that is get around people that are doing things that you would say is crazy or impossible or beyond your limitations. Number 2 is it always seems impossible until it's done. That was Nelson Mandela. So what do you got to do? Break down the goal into bite-sized chunks, and soon impossible becomes possible, then probable, then done. So here's some other things that I've learned along the way, or so far on this journey, that I'm going to encourage you with and that you can apply to all of life. Doing this with others is way more fun, and it's guaranteed to help you go further. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Well, this journey of going with others has been so cool for me. When I go out and train on my own, I can go so far, but this head, it hurts, it's painful, it's hot, that increases. But when I'm going with someone else, I'm so much more encouraged, motivated, where it's like there's a bit of competition going on. We always go further than what we could have done by ourselves. My son and I, we're listening to a podcast of an audiobook called Born to Run. And literally, as we're running along, I've got one earpod in my ear, he's got the other, and we're telling stories and laughing as we're listening to this crazy story of these people that run ultra runs. There is something about going together. The Bible is full of this. Jesus sent the disciples out on mission 2 by 2. God himself said it's not good for man to be alone. There is much in the Bible about the power of 2 or more together. One of us can put 1,000 to flight. 2 of us can send a legion fleeing. How much more when you grab someone? So who around you could you encourage? Who could you grab into your orbit of doing awesome and encourage one another to go further, faster, stronger, and longer? Next point is you must slow down to go the distance. I'm learning all about heart rate. I've got this watch. It tells me what my heart rate is. And it's these different thresholds or zones at heart rate. Now, a little bit of history. I was a short distance runner. So 400 meters in high school. That's what I used to love. As I left school, I started to enjoy trails, but whenever we'd run trails, it'd be like 2 miles, 3 miles, just at the back of our house. I get out there, I love it, I enjoy it, and that's about all you can survive in 100 degrees in California. But now I'm learning I want to run 50K, 31 miles. That's more than a marathon, and it's going to be climbing more than 4,500 feet in the mountains on all sorts of terrain. Now, I've learned that my heart rate that's needed to run 400 meters in a minute compared to the heart rate that I need to sustain over a long period of time, which might be 1, 2, 5, 8 hours long, is so different. So what I've literally learned that there's a heart rate beyond which my fatigue rapidly increases. So I have to get my heart rate down. Now here's the challenge. If I'm going uphill, I slow right down. But then I get onto a flat or a downhill and it's like, I want to get my tail up. Maybe I'm competing and running with someone. What I have to do is consciously slow myself down in order to go the distance. Right now, it may feel like I'm not working hard, but an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours from now, I'll be so grateful that I slowed down. You know, that's the same for us in life. There are seasons when it's hard work. When you're going uphill, your heart rate gets up. But if you stay in that zone, you will burn out. I need to better manage myself to know that I'm going to have to take stock of what the speed is that I'm running and say, can I sustain this? In life, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, could you continue and still finish strong? Will you finish your race? So you must slow down in order to go the distance. This proverb says, it's not good to have zeal without knowledge or be hasty and miss the way. Let's go the distance. Next point, nutrition is not important. It's critical. If I'm running just for an hour, it doesn't really matter what I'm drinking, what I'm eating, because I can just survive and push through and then I'm at home. But if I'm going 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 hours, eating, nutrition, and what I'm feeding in becomes super critical. Now, quick aside, I get to get all these cool things like these goo gels and this Propel stuff, and it's crazy fun. All the different things that I get to eat and drink. But if I don't, I will break down. I will hit the wall. I will not sustain it. Now, I know this because that's what I did in the last marathon. The last marathon that I did, I like 19, 20 miles in, I hit the wall and literally my quads froze. So I was physically, I could not move for a moment as everything was spasming. Now, what I've learned since then is nutrition is important. Training's important. Nutrition is also important. Now, what's the same? It's about what you are feeding yourself, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally and relationally. What voices are you allowing in your head? What are you listening to and feeding? Trash in, trash out. Will I discipline myself and put in the right nutrition so that I can go the distance? The next point is, what are you wearing? Again, if it's short distance, who really cares? But the longer you go, the more it's like, yeah, you know what? That cotton t-shirt that's now soaked with sweat and just feels like I'm wearing a towel, that feels terrible. Those shorts or underwear that is now chafing and it's like adds sweat and irritation and hours, like I'm not going to want to move again for days. So it becomes really, really critical. What am I wearing? Now, it's cool too, because I get to get some really cool shoes. Like, man, these things, you see that? That gives me grip. I tried a pair of running shoes and then went on a trail run and just about twisted my ankle because they're designed differently. Are you wearing the clothes, the footwear that you need for the places that you're going? Now, for you and I in life, there's seasons that we go through. I remember when I was a student, my mum gave me a hand-knitted woolen jersey. I loved it. Then I graduated and I'm now working for an agricultural business consulting company, and I get to stand up in front of 300 farmers and talk to them about certain practices and what we're operating. I get to the end of it and I wore my favorite homespun woolen jersey. And I get back, stand down, and one of the business leaders comes up to me and goes, Andy, you did a great job. You communicated really, really well. Now go home and get rid of that blank, blank, blank jersey and get yourself a sports jacket. What's the point? You need to change your clothes. When you go through life and do different things, there's different clothes required for different seasons. What you're wearing at the gym is great for the gym, but please don't wear that downtown. There's things that are appropriate for certain places. The feed, the footwear, the clothing, all of those different things. This applies to all of life. Next point is get advice. Not just any advice, but qualified advice. I have a training plan that Brent gave me. He's one of the guys from Atlanta, and it's been so helpful. And as I follow it, I'm following someone that's already done what I want to do. You know, the Bible is like that. These are people that have already gone the distance, so we can learn from what they did, what they didn't do, how they won, how they succeeded, how they failed. But listen to those that have done it. I'm not going to talk to a sprinter for suggestions of how to run a ultra trail run. I'm going to talk to somebody that's actually done it. You know what? They look really different. Their body shape, everything they do is very, very different because they have a different goal in mind, different background, different experience. The same for you. Look for someone that is a wise counselor, but a wise counselor in what you are looking to learn and grow in. I'm watching YouTube videos, I've read books, I've talked to different people, I've got advice around nutrition, advice around clothing, advice around all these different things that's going to help me because I can learn from someone else. What about you? Who are you listening to that can speak into the situations that you're in right now or want to be in because they are already there? Next point, do the work. There are no shortcuts. Literally, there are no shortcuts. On Saturday, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to run 50 kilometers. But the truth is, this month already, I have already run 150 kilometers, just not in one day. That's what I've been doing the work on the hard days, on the easy days, on the soft days, on the rest days. Do the work because that's what prepares you not just to actually achieve what you want to achieve, but actually do it and enjoy it. I learned this the hard way. A marathon with 6 weeks training, not fun. You might do it, but it won't be fun. And I want to do this and enjoy it. I want to see the scenery, go places I've never been before, and stand at the end. Maybe stand, maybe crawl over that finish line, having done it, but done it and say, I did it well. I finished strong. So what about you? As you listen to this, what stands out to you? You may never do a trail run, but maybe there's some other challenges that you could take on. Maybe that's writing a book or expanding a business or going on a mission trip. It could be anything. It could be talking to a stranger or making some ridiculous amount of donations to some organization or charitable event that that's really important to you. When you listen to this, what's the thing that stands out the most to you? Now, here's next steps. Number one, grab a copy of Dream Culture, Bringing Dreams to Life by Andy and Janine Mason. That was written with you in mind to help you discover the dreams of your life and then turn to practical action steps and overcome challenges on the way. Number two, don't do this alone. If you want to join a community that's growing with God in our place of work and all of life, jump onto and find out more about heavenandbusiness.com/free-trial. We're growing in identity, growing in business, and growing in influence, and you get to do that with us. Check it out, join the free trial, and then every single week we will meet you and help you go further, faster, stronger, and longer. Now, heads up, I got 5 days. This is my tapering rest week where I get to carbo load, fill up with more ready for this big event on Saturday, and stay tuned to find out what happens afterwards.